welcome back to my kitchen. In today's video, we're going to make some Sunday dinners. These have become my favorite videos to make just because I love to encourage you to get together with your family or your friends and sit down and have a nice meal together. All of these meals are family friendly and flavorful and comforting, so I do hope that you enjoy. But let's go ahead and get started and I'll show you how to make them. Kicking off today's video, we're making this Alfredo casserole. To begin, you will just need to preheat your oven to 375 degrees. Now I'm just chopping up half of a yellow onion and then moving over here to my skillet. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of avocado oil and a tablespoon of butter in here and let that get nice and hot. While my pan is heating up, I'm going to go ahead and take one chicken breast and slice it in half. Then on both sides, you'll just want to season it with a little bit of salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Now I'm just going to transfer that chicken over into my nice hot skillet. This chicken will cook for 3 to 4 minutes per side until it's reaching at least 165 degrees. Once the chicken is fully cooked, you'll go ahead and just remove that chicken out of there for right now. And you're going to add the onion that we chopped up earlier. This onion will cook for about 7 to 8 minutes until they are nice and tender. Then you can add in 1 teaspoon of minced garlic, and you're just going to let this cook in here with the onion for about 30 seconds or so. Just make sure you are not burning the garlic. And now you can go ahead and add in 1 jar of your favorite Alfredo sauce. After adding in the Alfredo, then I added 1 cup of half and half into the same jar. I shook it up really well, and then I dumped the whole thing back into the pan. Stir that up, making sure to scrape the bottom to prevent the garlic from burning, and then you can add in 1 cup of shredded mozzarella cheese. Once again, you're just going to stir this and make sure that the cheese is melting throughout the sauce. Once the sauce is smooth, you can go ahead and add in your chicken. As you can see, I did go ahead and chop that up into smaller pieces. And I'm also going to add 1 12-ounce box of cooked pasta in here. Once that's all mixed up and the noodles are incorporated, we're going to go ahead and top it off with about half a cup of shredded mozzarella and half a cup of shredded mild cheddar cheese. Add this into your oven, and this is going to bake for 20 minutes until the cheese is nicely melted over the top. Here is what my plate looked like in the end. As you can see, there is the pasta. It was nice and creamy and delicious. To go along with this, I just made some homemade garlic bread. I'll go ahead and type out how I make my garlic bread down below in the description box. And then I completely forgot to show it in this video, but I also made a nice big Caesar salad to go along with this as well. Next up, we're going to be making this mushroom and onion roast. To begin with this one, I am just going to go ahead and slice up 1 yellow onion, and then I'm also going to slice up 1 8-ounce package of mushrooms. Now over to my crock pot, I'm just going to take the mushroom and onion and add that into the bottom. I'm also going to add in 1 cup of water and 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. Using a spoon, just give that a quick mix together, and then on top of that, you're going to add in your roast. Now, I was putting this roast in here at 6 o'clock in the morning, so I was not very motivated to sear the outside of it, but if you're feeling like it, you can totally do that. To season this up, I'm just going to add some steak seasoning, some of my favorite all-purpose seasoning, which I will link down below, garlic powder, pepper, and salt. I do not measure any of those seasonings, I just make sure that it is heavily seasoned, and I make sure to rub it in on both sides. Once all the seasonings are nicely rubbed into the roast, you can go ahead and take some Worcestershire sauce and add about 2 tablespoons of that over the top. Add the lid onto your crock pot, and then this is going to cook on a low heat for about 8 to 9 hours until it's falling apart. I realize it does say high right there on the crock pot, but about an hour into this I did come back and change it to a low heat once I noticed. Once it was all done, I did go ahead and just take some tongs and remove that out of the crock pot onto a plate for now. At this point, the roast was falling apart tender. The only thing holding it together right now was just a strip of fat. But once I get that onto the plate, I'm actually going to take a fork and remove all the bigger pieces of fat. If you enjoyed the fattier pieces, you can leave those on there, but me and my husband are not a fan, so I just like to go ahead and remove the bigger ones. That way we don't have to deal with them when scooping it onto our plates. Before adding the roast back into the crock pot, I'm going to go ahead and scoop out about 2 cups worth of the drippings out of the bottom. Try not to take out any of the onions, you just want the juices right now. After removing those 2 cups of drippings, I'm going to go ahead and add the roast back in, and the remaining drippings and the onions, I'm just going to kind of mix them all together. Now we're going to go ahead and move back over to the stove and get started on the gravy. So in the bottom of this little pan here, I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of butter. Once the butter is melted, then I'm going to add in 1/3 cup of all-purpose flour. You'll just whisk that together and then let that flour cook in here for about 2 minutes or so. Now slowly I'm going to go ahead and start adding in those drippings, just a little bit at a time, whisking each time until I've added all the drippings in there and it has thickened up into a nice gravy consistency. Here is what my finished plate looked like in the end. To go along with this, I also made some mashed potatoes and steamed up some broccoli, and then I just took that gravy and poured it over top of my mashed potatoes, and I also was dipping my roast in there as well. Overall, this is such a cozy, warming winter meal in my opinion. This is something I love to have. My husband is not a big roast fan, but I do like to make it every once in a while, and this is about the only way that he will eat it. Up next, we're making some serious comfort food. We're going to make these cheesy scalloped potatoes. For this one, I am going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 400 degrees, and then over here to my cutting board, I am just slicing up 1 yellow onion. Then moving over here to my skillet, I'm adding a tablespoon of avocado oil and a tablespoon of butter. Once that is nice and hot, I'm going to go ahead and add those onions in there, breaking them apart a little bit, and then lightly seasoning them with just a little bit of salt and pepper. I let those onions cook for about 15 minutes or so until they had some good color on them and they were nice and tender. Now I'm just going to go ahead and remove these out of the pan and set them aside for right now. Into my skillet, I'm going to go ahead and melt 3 tablespoons of butter, and once that's melted, add in 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. I let that garlic cook for about a minute or so before adding in my flour. You'll need to add in 4 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. Whisk that all together, making sure to get every bit of flour mixed in, and then you're just going to let this flour cook for about 2 minutes or so. Once you start to see some bubbles, then you can begin slowly adding in your half and half. In total, you'll need about 3 cups of half and half, and I'm just going to add a little bit, mix it in, give it a moment to thicken up, and then I'll add some more and just keep repeating that until I've added in all of the half and half and it has thickened up. For the seasonings, I'm going to be adding in a half teaspoon of mustard powder, a half teaspoon of salt, 2 dashes of cayenne pepper, and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Give that a quick mix together, and now we're going to add in 2 cups of freshly shredded mild cheddar cheese. Once the cheese has completely melted into the sauce, then you're going to add in 2 tablespoons of room temperature cream cheese, and you're also going to go ahead and add your onions back in at this time. If your cream cheese is not room temperature, you're going to want to throw it into the microwave for about 30 seconds or so to soften it up, or else it's going to be really hard to combine with the cheese sauce. At this point, I did give it a little taste and decided to add just a little bit of salt and pepper in here. Once you have your cheese sauce done, go ahead and turn the burner off and just let it sit there while you prepare your potatoes. Here I have 1 larger baking potato along with 3 smaller ones. I'm just going to go ahead and wash those really well, peel them, and then slice them all up pretty thin. Next, you will be needing a 9x13 casserole dish. I am going to go ahead and spray it down with some nonstick spray just in case. And then you're just going to start layering your potatoes in here. I overlap mine just a little bit. It really doesn't cause any problems. Once half of the potatoes are in the pan, then you're going to grab your cheese sauce and add half of the cheese sauce on top. Spread the cheese sauce over all the potatoes, making sure to cover them completely. Now we're just going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to take the rest of the potatoes and line them all up in here, except this time I'm going to start on the opposite side and work my way over. This time I did have a little bit of extra potato that I did not use. It was just a little bit too much, but that's okay. Now just taking the rest of the cheese sauce, I'm going to add that over the top and once again spread it all over, making sure to cover the potatoes all around the edges. Now grab a piece of foil and add that over the top, and this is going to go in your oven to bake for about 45 to 50 minutes until the potatoes are fork tender. I did bake mine for 50 minutes and all of mine were fork tender at this point. So now we're going to take some more of that mild cheddar cheese and just cover the top of this. I stuck this back in the oven for about 10 minutes or until the top of it starts to brown up a little bit, just like this. If you're having trouble getting that brown color on top, you can also turn the broiler on for a minute or two. Just make sure you're keeping a close eye on it. Here is what my finished plate looked like in the end. There are the potatoes. They're looking beautiful as ever. And then along with this, I did make some Italian style green beans and some ham steaks. These potatoes are such a wonderful comfort food. I absolutely love these. They're cheesy. And if you don't like the onions, you can skip that step, but I do think they add some good flavor in there. If you wanted to, you could even take some ham and chop it up and add it into the potatoes and bake those right in there as well. Next up, we're making this turkey breast roast in the crock pot. To begin, you'll need to add half a stick of butter into a small bowl along with 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. You'll also need to add some seasonings. I'm adding in 2 teaspoons of thyme, 2 teaspoons of rosemary, a half teaspoon of pepper, 2 teaspoons of parsley, a half teaspoon of paprika, and 2 teaspoons of salt. Once everything is in the bowl, just take a spoon and get that mixed together the best you can. Now moving over here to my crock pot, I do have this turkey breast roast here. I'm going to go ahead and unwrap that. Before adding in the turkey, you do want to add in 2 large yellow sliced onions. This is going to be the bed for the turkey. Here's what the turkey breast roast will look like. It does have a net on the outside. This is just to help it maintain its shape. You will want to leave the netting on. Around the turkey onto the bottom of the crock pot, I'm going to add in 1 cup of chicken broth. And then before adding on this butter, I'm just going to take a paper towel and blot the top of the turkey. That way the butter seasoning mix stays on top a little bit better. Now you're just going to add that entire mixture of butter and seasonings onto the top. Spread it all around and down the sides if you can without knocking too much of it off into the onions. Add the lid, and then this is going to cook on a low heat for right around 3 hours. Here's what it'll look like when it is all done. I'm just going to remove this over to a plate so I can remove the netting. A lot of the seasoning will come off when you remove the netting, so it's a good thing to pile on the seasonings in the beginning. Now I'm just going to slice this so it's easy to serve. Here's what my plate looked like in the end. I went ahead and made some mashed potatoes and turkey gravy along with this. I did not use the turkey drippings. I went ahead and just used a package of turkey gravy. I also made some Italian style green beans there on the side and a roll. This is my favorite seasoning mixture for the turkey. It always turns out so good. The turkey is never dry, and I love adding that turkey gravy right over the top. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to leave me a flower down in the comments below if you did make it all the way to the end of today's video. And I will see you back here on Wednesday for a new video. Bye!